So when you do watch movies like Stand and Deliver, like Lean on Me, Morgan Freeman, like is that a true portrayal of behavior of kids, or obviously because it's a movie, sometimes you just got to amp it up a little bit?
Yeah, it's a little bit Hollywood, but there is like those situations are real. Like I think the resources, like most classes won't have the resources. One thing that's really real, I think, is like you can teach kids really without many resources. You just need like a piece of paper, a pencil, maybe some folder systems, and then you have your textbooks that by law every kid's supposed to have, and just use that, just use that and use old school. One thing that I was really great to use for math, especially, was whiteboards.
Yeah,
and like low tech shit, that stuff.
What do you mean, just a whiteboard?
Like little whiteboards. And the kids write on them, and we used to use that. Like that was my system right
it's
there.
Fun to,
and then they draw, and then we did this, and then we did group ones, and we did the whole group ones, and we played bingo, and we did all. And I had prize boxes for high schoolers. Like these little kids, they would work for like Dollar Tree stuff, and like I had a box of stuff. So like either they get points or little like treats and stuff like that, and they worked for that. And then food too works, all that.
Oh yeah.
Like oranges, I bring a bag of oranges, and they all of them.
Little motivational tactics. Like I've talked to other teachers too. I'm like, how do you get them to move? Like, oh, like I have like snacks, or I give them this. Like, hey, if you like read, like I'll give you this. So I tried that. Well, I tried that, and then it didn't work because like the kids are just like, oh, we don't like to talk. I'm just okay, all right.
That's what like one of my high school friends that I went to graduated around the same time. He's a first friend of mine that became a teacher. He went straight from high school. Once we graduated college, he started teaching at a college down south. Yeah. And he told me like, it started, that's like a new teacher thing started fucking with his mind, where he would get depressed with some of the stories he'd hear, especially when you're working at some of these schools like Richmond High, Kennedy. You see do you ever take that home? Do you ever taken any of that home?
Oh man, I mean,
how do you manage?
I well, when I was younger, when I was before I had kids and all, I just hanged out with my friends, man. I just hanged out with my brother's friends. We would go out, I used to go A's games all the time, Raider games, when they were here, and like go to the city, like that kind of thing, just keep my mind off. But really, like you do go like, so, it also depends on how you handle it, because you hear some things, kids unfortunately they get shot and killed sometimes. There's tragic things, even accidents, happen. And so like everybody copes differently, but like for me, I just try to mentally just focus on the kids that are with me, at my job, a part of my caseload and all that.
Yeah, because I'm also sure, like with like a teacher like you, where you're full time with a lot of these students, you're probably the only person they vent their shit to, and that's
oh man, I mean, for legal reasons,
counselor,
and that's one of the things I'm trying to do maybe down the line. But like you're saying, like when I was at my prior site, man, there were some things happen too, like the media comes and stuff like that, and you gotta get ready for that.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Things like that have happened in my experience, and like they can go national too, And to that extent, like some people can't cope and some people can, but you just gotta find your ways. You know what I mean? And like I think the kids too, they always understand. They always get your back if you have a good relationship with them. They're very understanding.
I had like my favorite teachers in high school were the ones that got me, like they understood. For example, English or history, they would let me, because they knew like I was into video production. Even in high school, I was in video class. So they're like, why don't you make a little video instead of writing out a paper or whatever? Make a video of what you learned. I'm like, oh hell yeah. So then we'd act it out. I'd get all the angles. I'd put music and stuff like that. But it was like, okay, that's what he's into. So I was grateful. Like, oh shit, like now I want to work. Now I want to learn this because I get to put my stuff in there.
And I feel like some kids, man, teachers are the first ones to understand them more so than their parents sometimes. And that's a thing that is not really, like that's why I wanted to bring you on. Like
they're there, like what are they gonna do?
You're with us more than your parents are.
Exactly. And what you were saying, man, that's what I used to do later. Like after my first 5 years, I started teaching engineering. I had an engineering class, and that's what we did. I had kids who were interested, and I had like 3D printing. I taught the kids how to use Inventor. We built stuff, man. These kids were building like little Pokeballs and stuff like that.
There we go.
And then we did all that. And then I had the senior class, which was like architectural engineering, and it was stuff they liked. And plus, we had kids there in those classes. It was an academy model, so it was kids who were interested in that route were part of it. Now we had a multimedia route. kids like what you were saying. There was kids that were part of that route too that like doing that.
Yeah.
So I think that's what we should do in schools right now, like kind of like the trade thing.
Right.
You know, and unfortunately, like, you know, certain schools don't do that yet or don't have the people. We need people like y'all could be teachers doing multimedia, a studio, you know, production class, like studio production 1, like, you know, beginner, and then studio production 2 is
a lot of schools got rid of all that, man.
I know, and it's fun.
We had a whole studio, like
you did.
Wow.
Yeah, an editing room.
What school?
Newark Memorial.
Oh, okay, okay.
So you guys had like elective that.
So we had an elective, so cool. and on top of that, we also had what's called Mission Valley Regional Occupation Program, which is like, okay, if you want to
trades,
trades. Like if you want to work on cars, if you want to do cosmetology, there's that. They just happen to have a television broadcasting one.
Oh wow!
So the local TV station there offered their space, like, hey, if you want to let the kids.
That's so cool, man.
So that's how I got into all this. Yeah.
See,
like do they still have them?
I think so.
I think we were the first ones to have the multimedia. I don't know if we were the first ones, but when I was a senior,
there were several, but I think you guys had a good we
had brand new equipment. Yeah. Remember, we didn't appreciate it as much. I think.
Yep.
But I was in the multimedia.
You just walked Corday out of here.
Have fun, bro.
Well, now that he's gone, I don't think Corday's a teacher. I think he's lying.
Did you know the Voice Party has merch? T-shirts, hoodies, wall clocks, bath mats, even mini skirts. We will throw our logo on absolutely anything. Click the link in the description and pick up some Voice Party merch today.